My wife of 19 years told me about her friend setting her up on a blind date. She had a girls' night out with her friend Tanisha. Tanisha set her up, apparently, with a guy that she had slept with a few weeks earlier. Tanisha was hooking up with someone else and set my wife up with the past hookup. My wife went out at 7 p.m. and came home at 3 a.m. The confession came completely out of the blue. She said she was sorry and wanted to work on our marriage, waterworks, and begging for forgiveness. She said that nothing happened between her and the guy because Tanisha had slept with him. She knew agreeing to meet this guy was wrong, and going to meet him was even worse. I don't believe that nothing happened like she is saying. She also said that the guy works at a sawmill and you make more money. So I think that's why I am the better option, basically. While she was confessing to actively trying to replace me, if she could find someone with a better paying job, this post would be much different. Not long after this girl's night out and before the confession, my wife and Tanisha had a total meltdown in their friendship. Suddenly, they went from best friends to Tanisha being a liar and a manipulative, jealous person, according to my wife. I think the confession, or partial confession, was to keep Tanisha from telling me about her sleeping with the guy, gaslighting me on the truth of what really happened by telling me only partially about it, only enough to look bad, but not the whole ugly truth of what happened. Honestly, I didn't need to be told everything that happened. The holes in the story were too big. Little coincidences that occurred around that time put everything into perfect focus. When she told me about it, I lost all feeling for her. I just went numb and didn't even get angry. I'm done, just working on my exit strategy at this point, getting financials in order, a place to move into, etc. It really sucks that she would be willing to throw away 19 years of marriage with no regard for anything, including our 2 children. Update: she is in full-blown panic mode, recently diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder where her white blood cells are attacking her lungs. This causes asthma attacks that normal medication can't correct. The only drug on the market that controls the condition has a cost of $133,000 after her Medicaid. If I didn't have really good health insurance through my employment, there isn't any possibility of her being able to afford it. She is trying everything to reconcile, even setting up couples counseling. We made it through 2.5 sessions. She explained why she came clean on the partial truth and wants to fix things. Counseling went the way I figured it would. Every session was all about everything I had done wrong, ever, including my working hours each week to make ends meet because she has partial disability and doesn't work. I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Everything was brought up, including our 2 children, except I was informed that the mention of her date night was off limits. About halfway through the 3rd session, the counselor looked her in the eye and asked, "If you have such a high-power radar to detect what everyone else is doing wrong, point that radar at yourself and tell me what you do wrong." The proverbial hit the fan. My soon-to-be ex-wife started yelling at the counselor and wanted to know why she was attacking her when we were there so she could fix me. After a few minutes of back and forth, my soon-to-be ex-wife stormed out crying. The counselor told me that my soon-to-be ex-wife has a deep hatred for me, and I don't think this marriage can be salvaged. Basically, my response was, yep and nope. I informed the counselor that I appreciated her time and we wouldn't be back. She offered me individual counseling. I informed her that I probably would in the future and proceeded to tell her about the taboo topic. Needless to say, it didn't surprise her and confirmed her suspicion. Needless to say, the entire trip back to the house was about what a quack the therapist was. I've basically been on autopilot when I'm at the house. I refer to it as the house because it isn't a home anymore. I've moved into the spare bedroom. As far as I'm concerned, I may be married, but I no longer have a wife. If she didn't need good medical insurance coverage, she would still be on the hunt. I don't need to track down Tanisha to get the whole story. I live in a small community of less than 1,000 people. I commute to work in a bigger city daily. Monday of this week, while at the only grocery store in the community, guess who ran into my soon-to-be ex-wife? It was none other than the blind date guy. Small towns, right? It was bound to happen. I was at the end of the aisle when he walked up to her. He's a small guy, maybe 5'9", and she had her back to me and didn't realize where I was. He asked her out again, right in front of me. She did decline, though. That's when I walked up. I asked her if he was the guy she went out with about 2 months ago. He asked, "What's it to me?" I backed him up against the shelves and told him that I've been her husband for 19 years. I thought he was going to soil himself. I'm 6'2" and 250 pounds, muscular. She tried to get me to back off. I growled at her to shut up, that she'd better listen. Immediately, she started crying. I asked if He swallowed hard and said yes. She cried harder. I told him to never let me see him again. He apologized for everything and basically ran out of the store. Her affair partner outed her by being in the wrong place at exactly the perfect time. If it hadn't been him, I would have eventually run into Tanisha to get the story. Needless to say, most of the time I'm on autopilot. It's as if all emotion is gone. I have to fake happiness while I'm with my children. I don't know if it is an emotional self-defense mechanism to keep things from falling further apart. I know I should be in some kind of distress over this. One day it's going to hit hard. I no longer trust the things I know to be true. Do my children really love me, or do they love the things I give them? Do my parents? Do they only love the fact that I got good grades in school and never got into trouble? The only thing I'm certain of is I can't stay in this sham of a marriage. I get up, go to work, barely eat or sleep. The only people I've told about this are strangers on the internet. I have no one to talk to about this. I go from one day to the next pretending I'm normal. Maybe my soon-to-be ex-wife was right. The therapist does need to fix me.
Just a quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. It helps me a lot. Now moving on to our second story. My wife is cheating with my coworker.
I'm a 33-year-old male, and my wife is 30. We have been together for 11 years, and I thought everything was good between us until recently. For some context, I work as a dispatcher for truckers, and it's a pretty good job. I get good benefits, and I make enough where we can both be comfortable. My wife had a job building gaming computers, but she lost her job due to cutbacks, so I've been the sole earner. I've been picking up a lot of hours, and one day my car battery died on me, so I had my wife take me to work. When we made it to the parking lot, I saw my coworker Andrew. I waved at him, and he walked over to say hello. That's when I introduced him to my wife. She got out of the car to shake his hand, and he looked at me and said, "You never told me that your wife was so beautiful." She blushed, and I laughed, not thinking much of it, saying, "Yeah, I'm lucky to have her." Then we both walked into work after I kissed my wife goodbye. A few days later, I got my car fixed and running, so I started going to work as usual. During lunch, I couldn't help but notice my wife's car in the parking lot. I walked towards it and saw her and Andrew talking and eating lunch in her car. I got upset, but kept my cool. I knocked on her window, and she opened the door, saying, "Oh, I forgot to tell you that Andrew and I were having lunch together today." Andrew then said, "I hope you're not angry." I took a deep breath and said, "No," before turning around and walking back to my car, because if I had said anything else, it would have started an argument. But I could feel my wife getting frustrated because I walked away like that. Later that day, when I got home, she blew up, saying that I had embarrassed her in front of Andrew. I asked, "Why do you even care? And when did you start hanging out with him?" She replied, "I'm a grown-ass woman and I don't have to tell you," before walking off. Since then, she has been distant, and I've noticed she's been on her phone more, calling and texting her friends. I just know it's Andrew, but I don't want to accuse her and be wrong. I don't want to look like an idiot, but at the same time, I want to say something. I don't know what to do. Update number 1. I talked to my friend, and he gave me an Apple AirTag. I'm going to put it in my wife's car and track her to see if I can find anything and collect evidence in case I need it in court if we end up divorcing. A part of me doesn't want to do this because I'm not sure if I can handle the pain. I mean, we've been through a lot together, and I can't believe she would really throw it away this easily. But I still feel like I have to do it. Update number 2. When I started suspecting her, my friend gave me his AirTag, and I hid it in my wife's car. She told me she was going to see a friend, but I didn't believe her. so I followed her in my friend's car to make sure she couldn't spot me. After a 20-minute drive, she pulled up to a hotel. I'm not gonna lie, I felt sick and my heart was pounding. I was really hoping I was wrong, that she really was seeing a friend. But then I saw Andrew waving at her. She ran up to him, jumped on him, and kissed him. I was so hurt and angry. I wanted to get out of the car, beat Andrew's ass, and tell my wife to get all of her stuff out of the house. But I didn't. Instead, I took out my phone, snapped some pictures, and drove off when I saw them walk into the hotel. When I got home, I cried, screamed, yelled, and punched a hole in the wall. I called my friend to come over, showed him the pictures, and started crying again. I screamed 11 years down the drain. My friend gave me a hug and told me to get a lawyer and to keep stacking up evidence against her. I didn't know if I could keep up the act anymore, but I told my friend I'd try. During these past weeks, I've been stacking up evidence and keeping my distance. I've seen them go to restaurants, movies, and hotels. Every time it hurt, but I toughed it out. She always told me she was going out with friends or family, but I never called her on it. I just said, okay. I thought I could keep it up for at least a few more days, especially since the lawyer I'm seeing says I have more than enough evidence to make sure I win. Yesterday was my birthday, but I wasn't really feeling it. My wife didn't even wish me a happy birthday, though her parents did. At work, my coworkers surprised me with a cake and some gifts. I tried holding back the tears because, for a moment, I forgot about everything going on, at least until I saw Andrew. He gave me a gift, and I forced a smile and thanked him. When I opened it, it was the comic Batman Death of the Family, and I was actually surprised because no one at work knew I was into comics. DC is my favorite. When I told Andrew that, he said, "Your wife told me." And at that moment, everything went red. The next thing I knew, my coworkers were holding me back, and Andrew was in the corner, covering his nose and yelling, "What the?" I screamed, "I know you've been sleeping with my wife." The room went silent, and everyone looked at Andrew. He tried to explain himself, but I didn't care. All I wanted to do was beat him until he stopped moving. That's when my boss came in, sent Andrew home, and took me into his office. I told him everything and showed him some of the pictures. My boss apologized and gave me some time off to sort things out, saying he would deal with Andrew. When I got home, it really went south. My wife was waiting for me and blew up, saying I was wrong for attacking Andrew and that she had talked him out of pressing charges. She kept yelling, saying, "Andrew makes me feel like a real woman and treats me right. He knows how to make me feel special." That's when I finally snapped. I yelled, "I don't give." She looked shocked and went silent. I kept going. "If he makes you feel special, then go live with him. Let him support you because I'm done." She had the nerve to cry and say she was sorry. She tried to explain that Andrew had caught her at a moment of weakness, but I didn't care. I just took a deep breath and told her to get a lawyer because we're getting a divorce. She tried apologizing, saying she couldn't afford a lawyer and that we needed to work on ourselves. But I just looked at her and said, "Pack up." She kept crying and begging, but I grabbed her suitcase and called her sister to come pick her up. She locked herself in the bathroom, saying she wouldn't come out until I was willing to work things out with her. I kept telling her I didn't want to work anything out and that we needed space because when I see her, I just feel anger and pain. Eventually, she came out, apologized again, packed her things, and waited outside for her sister. Now, I'm finally in the house alone, and I can't stop crying. I feel so many things: hurt, anger, confusion, and I don't know what to do anymore. Sorry if this post is all over the place. I'm just feeling horrible and emotional, but I do plan on seeing a therapist soon. I'll definitely update everyone once all this blows over. This was the last update from the user. There have been no further updates as of now. If the user releases an update in the future, I'll post a part 2, so make sure to subscribe to the channel.